Hi, everybody. I just wanted to welcome you. My name is Linda Bevick. I am the Employer Relations Coordinator at UW. Thank you for joining us today for the UW System Virtual Career Trek featuring Haribo of America. Would like to recognize any of our UW Parkside friends who are here, students, faculty, and staff. Also want to take a minute and thank Haley Carr from UW Superior, who is the Career Services and Career Trek Coordinator, who is doing the tech support for these events. And thank you all for coming again. So I'm just going to share a quick screen here. So like I said, today's featured employer is Tony Hansen, who's HR Director from Haribo of America. And you'll hear more about her in just a second. Want to remind everyone to please use the link in the chat to fill out the official registration form. We'll be dropping that link in the chat a few times throughout the presentation. And just to ask that all of the students participating, please fill out the registration form. It's how we know how many participants we had and which UW campuses you're from. Did we lose that? And also wanted to just draw your attention to the official UW System Career Trek website. You can view all past Career Trek employer presentations on this website. If you're a faculty member, you can show these videos in class, which is a great way to build that college to career connection and highlight some of the career opportunities with some of Wisconsin's employers. The next upcoming Career Trek will be October 6th and will feature a quick trip. And so I believe the one, there's no trek for September 29th for next Wednesday. That one was canceled. So the next one coming up will be the 6th. And then also there'll be some live polling. If you could just take some time to answer the 2 poll questions on the screen that you see before you. That just helps us again get a clear understanding of where our participants today are from, what UW campuses you're from. We appreciate you taking the time to do that. And so if you're not familiar with Career Treks, this is a UW system-wide initiative of career services offices throughout the UW Wisconsin system that have teamed up to feature some of our wonderful Wisconsin employers throughout the state and to bring you kind of face-to-face with students so that you can learn about these organizations, learn about the career opportunities that they have to offer and any advice that they have to give you about career preparations. Again, the registration link is an important thing to fill out and so that we know who all is here. And so I would like to now introduce you to Tony Hansen, who's our Human Resources Director for Haribo of America, which is a brand new plant that's being built as we speak here in Pleasant Prairie, which is just part of the Kenosha, Wisconsin, Kenosha County location. So welcome, Tony, and thanks for being here today.
Welcome. I'm excited to be here. I'm Tony Hansen, and welcome to everybody from University of Wisconsin all over our area. I'm glad that you were able to join us today. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to tell you a little bit about Haribo, starting with where we are from a global perspective, and then we'll get down to where we are in the United States, and then even more importantly and probably most relevant to you, some of our plans in Pleasant Prairie. After that, I'll tell you a little bit about me and my career, and then I'll open it up and answer any questions that you may have. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and everything went well during testing. So let's hope it remains going well. Oops. Sorry, let's just get back to where we need to be. All right. So again, I said we're going to start with that global overview, and then we'll slowly go down into where we're at Pleasant Prairie to give you an update. So as you look at Haribo worldwide, these are all the places that we operate in. And as you can see from the text on the bottom, the United States is now the #2 market for Haribo worldwide. So we're pretty proud of that. Germany's still #1. And we plan with our new factory to be able to become #1 in the network. These are our Haribo values. And at Haribo, we not only talk about our values, we truly do live our values at every one of our sites throughout the globe, including the United States. These things are very core to what we do and how we operate. The first one, independence. We're a family-owned company, so we are not dictated what we do by stockholders and shareholders. Really, it's the Regal family in the business that makes the decisions that are best for Haribo. We believe in trust. We believe in pragmatism. We don't want to have analysis paralysis. We believe in focus. We are competing in the sugar candy confections category. We have no desire to compete anywhere else. We're going to focus there and hit it out of the park. Quality is in everything we do. We will never send out substandard work or product. And why do we do it? It's all to create moments of childlike happiness for others. The story we like to say is, think about when you were a kid and you went to the candy store and you were able to pick out what kind of candy you wanted. It gave you a happiness, a smile. And even as we're young adults and adults, going into the candy aisle and picking out candy still gives us that moment of childlike happiness. And in this day and age, we need moments of childlike happiness more than ever. Tells you a little bit about our international footprint. So you can see we have 7,000 associates worldwide, and we just got over 100 in the United States. And we have 100 more, hundreds more coming with the growth that we anticipate. This tells you a little bit about our history. So you can see we started in 1920, so we are a 100-year-old company. We were founded by Hans Riegel Sr., and we are now being led by our third generation of Riegels. Let's talk a little bit about Haribo of America. So at our management board, we have Rick LaBerge, who is our COO, Art Ruskis, who's our CPO, and then Wes Saber, our CFO. These gentlemen were hired about 6 years ago to come and lead the Haribo of America operation. Prior to 6 years ago, you probably didn't see our candy very much. You probably saw it maybe at an airport, maybe at a specialty candy store. Now, when you went to Europe, you saw it a lot, but you didn't see it a lot in the United States. We were more of a specialty candy then, until Haribo decided that they were going to invest in the United States. So it started with these three gentlemen, and now you'll see our products in Walmart, CVS, Target, movie theaters everywhere. And we are now the #1 gummy in the United States in just 6 years. So what are we focusing on? What's our journey? Well, we're very invested in building capabilities. So we're a group of 100 in the United States with tremendous growth potential. What does that mean? That means we could sell more than we can currently make. So that's a great problem to have when you're a CBG company. But we're small and we're growing, so we need to continue to build our capabilities and our systems so that we can support and have a good foundation for our growth. We believe on delivering our commitments. When we tell Walmart that they're going to get 1 million cases, they will get 1 million cases. So we don't overcommit and we do not underdeliver. And what my focus is, being in HR, is to attract talent for today and tomorrow. So we know that we're going to be growing now and through the next 10 years. Interesting fact, 94% of our Haribo of America associates just joined in the last 5 years, which makes sense, doesn't it? Since our leaders were hired 6 years ago. So talent attraction and retention. So we are been Great Places to Work certified. And then you'll also see that we were awarded the 25 best small and medium workplaces in manufacturing and production, as according to Fortune magazine. Now that's huge. There's a lot of small and medium manufacturing sites throughout the United States, and to be one of the best of the 25 is awesome. So what we work on is telling our story. You know, Haribo, we believe Haribo we're unique. We're a family-owned company, and we're treated like family. We believe in owning our business and driving our business. We believe in investing in our people. We know as we begin to continue to grow, we're going to need higher and higher levels of leaders, and we believe in growing our current workforce for those opportunities that are coming up. And we strongly believe in engagement and high-performing teams. It's interesting, we had a number of fun engagement things we did with our workforce, and then COVID hit. But you know, at Haribo, we were unique. We didn't stop doing anything. We just changed the way we did it. So our first virtual baby shower was probably a little different, but after a year and a half now, we kind of really like that the virtual baby showers happen because it allows all our remote workers throughout the United States to also participate. So we've changed the way we've done things, but we continue to focus on engagement. Shows you a little bit about some of the places that we've been around. And for me, my most important, of course, is that sign right in the middle. I'm from Pleasant Prairie, and I've been here most of my life, so I'm really excited to have this plant being built in my backyard. Tells you a little bit about our community partnerships. We're very invested in the community. That's a Haribo culture. They believe in community partnerships. They believe in investing in education. And so it's very exciting for me to be a part of a company that not only says that, but puts some action behind those words. This shows you a little bit of the stuff that we did during COVID to help our first responders and give them some moments of childlike happiness in their day. Well, that's all fine. Let's talk about the business. So you'll see that we have our 9 top sellers off to the left. You'll also see where we are the #1 gummy brand, and we're ahead by 4.9 share points. We continue to grow. We had 15% growth in sales last year. I will tell you, during COVID, people loved their gummies. And surprisingly, the 10-pound gold bears that you can get through Amazon, they tripled in demand. So people really did love their gummies. We've penetrated 25% of households in the United States, and that's doubled in the last 3 years. So tremendous growth. And that's why we now have the opportunity to build a factory right in our own backyard. It's a very competitive market out there, right? There's a lot of people who play in the gummy space, but we believe that we have a superior product because we hire the best of the best, as well as we use the best of ingredients out there, and we do not accept anything that does not meet our standards. Just want to take a minute and show you our current commercial if you haven't had an opportunity to see it yet.
Hey guys, who loves Haribo gold beers? Me! This one has juiciness like a strawberry. Squishy and delicious. I'm gonna eat his head. I don't know about that. It's so bouncy in your mouth.
The gold bear is like a karate to flip it around.
Shaboom!
That gave me a moment of childlike happiness. I'll tell you that. I get a kick out of that. So why did we choose Pleasant Prairie? Well, there were a number of reasons, but what I thought was really special is what I heard the story of when Mr. Regal and the family came over to look at potential areas. Yeah, they wanted to look at the site, and of course they were going to meet with the dignitaries of the area, but they did something different. They wanted to see a local school. They wanted to see a local grocery store. They wanted to eat at a family-owned business, restaurant. Right? They wanted to see our lakefront. They wanted to walk the streets and get to know the culture of Kenosha, and they felt it really resonated very closely to their German roots. So that's why Pleasant Prairie was chosen. This gives you our factory roadmap. So we started signing with our general contractor in October, and then we get our building in August of 2022. So I'm really excited about that because then my commute gets really a lot shorter. And so I'm also looking forward into being in a office that everything's brand new. We don't start production though till 2023. When we get our building in August, that's when all the machines start coming over. At Haribo, we make all our own equipment for production. That means that we make our own machines for us. So all our engineers and our mechanical and electrical folks will be installing our machines from August 2022 till we ramp up and start production in 2023. I want to show you a quick video of our site. So this video does not have any sound, but it gives you a nice view of the factory from the outside, and in a minute, you'll see it from the inside.
Good morning. I'm Tom Holsheimer, the project executive with Gilbane. We're the contractor building this wonderful, iconic facility. We work every day with Haribo, the design team, and the trade contractors putting together this iconic project. The job's going great, but don't take my word for it. Let's go inside and check it out.
So you'll get to get a flavor for how big our site is. This is our ground floor. Some of our technical equipment that's coming in for the infrastructure. They're going upstairs. This is where a lot of the production lines will come in. So where we'll make and package our yummy gummies. And yes, there's another floor. This will also be another floor for expansion so that we can continue to fill the demand that we have in the United States. There you'll see a snapshot of the warehouse. So once we're done producing and packaging, it goes over to our warehouse there. Right here is up on our roof. We're going to have a state-of-the-art building. It's going to have a lot of technology in there. And so a number of our engineers, as well as our electricians and maintenance mechanics, will need access to that roof to take care of the state-of-the-art building. I've walked those stairs. It's not easy. This is the bridge that'll go to our warehouse. We call that the Passarella. And this is where our logistics department will ship our products out to all our customers so that they're available to all our end users, our consumers. It's a picture of some of our outbuildings. You can see the community impact that this project brings. Before I open up for questions, I'm going to stop sharing. So what are the types of positions that we're going to be hiring in Pleasant Prairie? We are going to be staffing up the entire plant. That means I am going to be hiring from operators to mechanics, electricians, to material handlers, to supply chain organization, to a human resources organization, to a finance and accounting organization. I'm going to be hiring a couple in IT, hiring my quality organization, and then our project managers organization. So total of 300 jobs in our first phase. We have a great problem. We're building a factory that will already be at capacity. That means we're going to be running from the beginning till the end, full boat. That means we could, again, we're in a position even after our first factory is built, that if we could make more, we could sell more. So it's a great growing brand, and there's a lot of opportunities coming at Haribo. Let me just switch gears a little bit. I want to give you just a quick 5 minutes about me and my career and the career path I've chosen, because I've been in manufacturing my entire career, and I've found a lot of satisfaction and value in picking the manufacturing sector for my career. Start out with, I am a University of Wisconsin Parkside graduate. So I got my undergraduate in HR as well as business administration with a minor in communication. My first job out of school was at a temporary service. So I hired temporary employees, temp to perm, permanent employees, contractors for all different types of companies in the Racine area. Learned a lot there. Really learned a lot about recruiting, employee relations, and how to interact with all different types of customers that have all different types of needs. From there, I got what I call my first professional job, which was at Ocean Spray Cranberries. Ocean Spray Cranberries makes all different types of juice, from single serve to multi-serve. And I worked in their Kenosha plant, which is a 500 employee unionized workforce. I started there as the HR coordinator, and then I worked my way on up. It was when I was at Ocean Spray that I returned to Parkside and started to pursue my MBA. So I took one class a semester until I graduated 10 years later, but I was working full time, and at that time got married and started having my family. So I wanted to pursue my education, but I also wanted to do it in a way that I would be successful. Probably one of the most interesting roles that I had from my HR career was in my training days. So I had the opportunity to oversee training at Ocean Spray for a period of time as I was developing myself to be that well-rounded HR generalist. And what I found is where my passion was. So in training, I like classroom training, especially when I have to do it 3 times. But when I have to do that same topic 9 times, or heaven forbid, 20 times, that was difficult for me. By number 20, I was like, oh, please, I can't do this again for 3 hours. But where I found a lot of passion was in developing training for plant operations. So when we get a brand new machine in, how do we make sure the operators are trained, the mechanics are trained, the quality people know what to do, our supervisors know what to do, and putting that plan together, something that's a little bit more nebulous, and you work with a bunch of people to get that training and development plan together. From that role, I progressed all the way up to the HR manager at that site. And that's when I really got involved more in strategy, labor relations, union relations, and really being that overall people person for the facility. I was there about 15 years when Nestle came knocking at my door. Nestle is one of the biggest food and beverage companies in the world, and they had a plant in Burlington, Wisconsin. Chocolate. I mean, who doesn't like chocolate? We were going to make Crunch Bars and Raisinets and Goobers and all these fun chocolate products. And in fact, we had chocolate in every conference room, which was a little tough. Called it the Nestle 10. You have the freshman 10, called it the Nestle 10 because the first couple of years you ate a lot of chocolate. That was also a 500 employee unionized plant. I was the HR manager there my entire career, and that was a plant that really needed a turnaround. So when I joined, that plant was the lowest rated plant in the network, and Nestle's got a big network, so we were like number 49 of 49 manufacturing facilities across the United States. When I left, the management team working with our operators down on the floor, we became number 6. So a lot of things that we had to get together and work together and fix. But it shows you that if everybody works together from the entry-level janitor all the way up to that plant director, the things that you can make accomplished. And how do we do that? It's always through people. So who always is at the highlight is our HR folks helping lead that charge. 2 years ago, I got another knock on my door, this time from Haribo, building a brand new factory where every single piece of equipment is brand new. For those in manufacturing, that is so exciting. Ocean Spray and Nestle were great places to work, but those plants were 50 to 75 years old. So they didn't always make the parts. When our machines went down, we had to actually fabricate and make parts. So it's exciting being in manufacturing and having advanced manufacturing 4.0. We will not have really general labor type of jobs. All our jobs will be semi-skilled. The machines will fill up a room, and their job is to, operate that entire machine center. So I'm excited to be at Haribo. I like working for a family company. It's very different than working in a Fortune 500 where we're very governed by rules and consistency. Family-owned company, we can treat and interact with our people a little differently, and I really respect that. I love that I work for a company that respects manufacturing. Manufacturing is what they do. Manufacturing gummies is what they do. They make their own machines for our manufacturing centers. Sometimes at some companies, the field-based plants and corporate can have a disconnect, right? At Haribo, we don't have that because there is that genuine respect for the manufacturing group. So that tells you a little bit about my company, tells you a little bit about me. Hope I told you a little bit of some of the career opportunities we have out there. Let me know if you have any questions for me.
So students, any of you who have questions for Tony, if you could drop them in the chat and I will read your question out loud so she can answer it. But she gave a lot of great information, an overview of the history of the company, their culture, some of the career positions they have available, as well as her own career path, which I think, you know, we have a lot to learn from just how she progressed through her career. So what questions do you have? What would you like to know about Haribo, career opportunities, or even Tony's own career path and any advice she may have? When will you start posting more positions?
So in 2021, we're going to be hiring mainly our senior leaders. So this year we're hiring right now. We have 2 production planner and a material planner opening, but at 2021 is going to be pretty light. In 2022 is when we're really going to start getting our what we call our train the trainer group hired. Those are a lot of the folks that will go overseas and learn and then come back and train the others. And then the big majority of hiring happens in 2022. Always post our jobs. So typically on LinkedIn and other social platforms, so you'll always be able to access them.
I do think you are on Handshake as well. You know, Handshake is the platform that I know all of the UW schools use and most colleges nationwide. It's one of the most widely used career development and job posting platforms for colleges and employers. So Handshake would be another good place to post these jobs, especially for the early talent pool that you're looking for.
Sure. And we do.
Yeah. Around how many years can be spent that I can find the job that I love and suit for me?
You know, that's a difficult question because, you know, when I went into school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to be. And so I went to business school to start because it was general. And I had my first accounting class. And I was like, oh yeah, I can't make a career out of this. And then I went to IT and I was like, oh no. So when I ended up with HR, I was a little trepidous. Is this going to work for me? And, you know, I found out that it did, but I did find some things in HR that I didn't like doing, right? And I was able to shape my career path into more of a generalist. So in HR, you can go and be a specialist, and there's a lot of benefits to being a specialist. The hours are better. Pay's not as good, but the hours tend to be better. But then, you know, that's all I would do is recruit. All I would do. And I can recruit for a little bit, but I couldn't be a 100% recruiter. So I really found I liked being a generalist and going into a lot of different things. So my best career advice on that would be is to talk to people and network with people that are in careers that you want to be in, right? If you know a parent, one of your friends' parents that's in a career, ask them to coffee to talk about their career. I can tell you my kids' friends do that. I have went out with a number of her friends to talk about HR careers. We like that when we're in this part of our career. We like that the younger generation wants to hear about us. So do that networking up front. Internships are a good way to find out what you like to do and what you don't like to do, as well as don't forget those volunteer opportunities. I had a daughter who wanted to be in the medical field. I said, you know, you should volunteer at a hospital. See if that's the kind of environment that you could work in long time. She found out she really, you know, found it difficult when people were in pain and suffering. That just wasn't for her. Well, it was good she found that out by volunteering at something that helped her understand, is that the right career path for her?
Great advice. The other question, Tony, is how are advancement opportunities handled at Haribo, and what kind of education are you going to be looking for?
The education we look for does vary job by job, right? When we look at our entry-level operator positions, and again, I want to say entry-level at Haribo is not the same as at Amazon, right? We hire machine operators all the way up to, you know, associate degrees, 4-year degrees, and then like for my role did require a master's degree. But how do we move forward? We have we openly post our positions. You work with your hiring manager to talk about your career path, where you want to go, and they help you get there. Can they guarantee that you are going to get that next role? No. But what they can do is give you the opportunity and the feedback to get the skills and capability you need that can earn your right to have an interview. And that's what your goal is to get an interview and then to sell yourself. But there's a lot of opportunities at every company you work at to move up. My number one recommendation to you is be willing to raise your hand. Be willing to take the assignment that nobody else wants, right? Those are the things that get you noticed. The people that don't raise their hand and then come and ask for the promotion are normally the ones that aren't going to get it that first go around.
Are you hiring interns for the spring semester, or when will you be hiring interns and what areas?
So we do have an internship program. It is in our second year. We like to hire for our University of Wisconsin partners and have hired a number of Parkside internships for sure. Our fall class just started. We are going to be hiring for our spring class, and we're going to be at the job fair at University of Wisconsin Parkside in October. So come talk to me.
Around how many years can be spent that I can find a job? Oh, that was asked already. That was posted twice. Sorry about that. What kind of jobs are you looking for? Do you more prefer higher grade point averages or more work experience?
For entry level, when I'm looking at a high school grad, there's a couple of things that I like to see that make them stand out to me. Number one is going to be internships or voluntary positions, doesn't have to be paid, that have given you some work experience. So I typically, when I'm hiring somebody, like to see at least two. That puts you in my A pile, right? I try to hire from my A pile. So I like to see 2 internships by the time you graduate. And I do like to see a leadership role in some type of, whether it's club, volunteer organization. I also see that leadership from people that are Eagle Scouts with their Eagle projects, but I also try to look to see what else have they done outside of, just their academics and their career. But this is the thing that's always going to be difficult about hiring, getting advice on a job. And people have asked me for advice on a resume, and I'll give you my advice openly and honestly, but I will tell you that every HR person looks at something different. Let me give you an example. I don't read a cover letter, ever. I don't have time. I get 500 resumes at a time sometimes. I got 30 seconds to look at your resume. You got to stand out and give me what you want, right? That's my style, and I've been doing this for a while. I have one of my counterparts who reads every single cover letter from the beginning to the end, looking for punctuation and all those types of things. So it really depends on that person that you're coming from. So that's what I look for. Is that internship experience and some type of leadership experience, whether it's sorority or fraternity or at a volunteer organization, or you led a food drive, things like that.
Thank you. Next question: would you say LinkedIn or Handshake is a better place to keep an eye on for internships?
Both.
Yeah.
What I would tell you now is with COVID, not many employers are offering internships like they used to. And so it's harder to get the internships than it used to be. It used to be pretty easy to get an internship, but then with all the remote working and a lot of the corporate groups, they've really cut down those opportunities. And so you really need to make sure you're looking at both. And I would also say, don't be afraid to Google.
Next question, what are the various finance-related job opportunities at Haribo, or what do you anticipate?
So, right now I can tell you we have a financial analyst open, and it is posted on our website. We do have, finance is an area we typically do have internships in. We typically have a finance internship in spring and in summer and in fall. So we typically have an internship there. Our finance department goes into operational finance, which really helps operate that business with budgeting and forecasting. And then we also have a sales finance, which works directly with our sales and marketing team on trade spend, promotional opportunities and, all this, the finance that goes along in those types of things. So a lot of opportunities in finance as we move forward. In Pleasant Prairie, we will be mainly an accounting / finance department. So the function will be together, but there will have entry-level accounts payable positions, accounts receivable positions. We'll also have general ledger accountants, cost accountants. So there'll be some of those are going to be hired more in toward 2022, 2023. But if we continue to grow at the pace that we do, we'll have even more available.
Next question, I think you kind of answered it, is what is one thing on an incoming application that you would like to see?
For me, I like it to be clear. So I would tell you that as recent graduates, one of the first things that you're going to have on your resume is going to be your degree, right? That's the most important thing that you've done right now. You may have had some internships, but I want to see that first. Then I want to see the skills, right? Those relevant skills. Then I want to see, internships and volunteer positions. And then I want to see the summer jobs. If you don't have time for the summer jobs, make those one line. What I would tell you about those skills, that's the one part of your resume that you change each time. So if you're going to be applying for, let's just take my HR experience. If I was going to be looking for a recruiting position, those skills should reflect what they're looking for in the job for that recruiting role, right? If I'm going to be looking for a training position, those skills that I'm highlighting should be focused on the job that I'm looking for. I think that's probably something that people miss, is they don't always update those relevant skills. They kind of keep them generic. And you may have a skill that they're actually asking for in that job advertisement, but you didn't put it together. So you don't extrapolate, right? You want to be honest, but if they're saying that these are the 5 things that they need in their job ad and you have those 5 things, make sure you have them on the relevant skills. Like I said, typically a recruiter is going to spend about 30 seconds on your resume. Make it pop. Make those things that, if they say, I want a degree, I want these skills, and I want this, I want some kind of work experience, you put that on there so that it jumps out.
Do you use like an applicant tracking system? Do you hand read every resume, or do you scan them into like an applicant tracking system and then search by keyword?
We do both. So
Okay.
I think that when I first started in my HR career, I opened up envelopes and I looked through thousands of resumes. Now, most of it is online. We do start, I'm going to be honest, we start with keywords. See if there's the right talent we have there. But then if we can't do that quick and dirty, then we will go through and we look at each and every one.
So templates are probably not something that you like to see on resumes, because does that affect the keyword search? Or when some students will use a template when they create their resume and they try to make it all fancy and pretty. And I sometimes feel like that hinders the search capability or functionality in a lot of the applicant tracking systems. Do you see that?
I've seen it on some of the systems I've worked on. Yes.
Okay.
But I would tell you, I know most students want to show their creativity and their individuality. What I would have too, one that's more without all the pretty stuff for uploading. But then when you go to the resume, if you get to the interview, that's when you can bring copies of the nice one, right? That has your individuality on there and show them that one.
Right. Good advice. Will all of the positions be moving from Rosemont to Pleasant Prairie?
No, they won't. We'll keep our corporate office there at least for the next 5 years. Then they're going to have to make a decision because we're outgrowing our space right now. But currently, our corporate office, the sales and marketing and many of the high-level supply roles will stay there. And then there's only a few of us, I'm one, that will transfer from Rosemont to Pleasant Prairie. So we let people know when they're hired if they're going to be a Pleasant Prairie based or Rosemont based associate.
Okay. Next question, how does the interview process work?
So I can give you the overall process and then let me give you a couple tips. Okay. So we always start with an HR phone screen, right? And that's to make sure that people have that relevant experience. They can answer some questions intelligently, right? We make sure that, we're screening for why people left jobs, right? And asking a couple of those behavioral based questions. So that's typically about a half hour that's done by our recruiting team. From there, it goes to a technical manager. We can't make our recruiters a technical expert in every single function that they support. So for example, an electrician would go to have their technical interview with the electrician, the electrical engineer. An HR person might come to me for that technical interview to make sure they have the technical skills that that role needs, because we want to make sure that they're set up for success, right? You bring somebody in who doesn't have the skills, not only is that not a good fit for them, it's not a good feeling for them to come in and not be successful. Then you go to a panel interview, which is very behavioral based. That's when we're looking for fit. After the interview, you meet with the key hiring manager, the highest person at that site, and that's the last interview. My tip for interviewing, especially when it comes to behavioral based questions, a lot of people aren't sure how to prepare for that. So what happens is they're asked a question and the first thing that pops into their mind is what they say. And I can tell that it's sometimes about halfway through that they're like, why did I pick this example? This is questions and this is not the example I should have chosen. I can tell you that's happened to me as well. What I counsel people on is to have just bullet point lists of things that you want to make sure you highlight. The first list are things that you have as accomplishments. Special projects you worked on, special recognition that you did, learning opportunities that you had. Just list those down, from when you helped a coworker to training somebody else to solving a problem that nobody came up to. Just brainstorm all the things that you're proud of. The next list should be things that didn't go as well as they should have, but you learned from, that you're comfortable sharing. A lot of times in behavioral based interviews, we'll ask those, tell me about a time when a project didn't go as well as you would have liked. And so if you take the first thing that pops in your mind, that's when I tend to see people that are all of a sudden halfway through. But if you look down at your list and you find one that you're comfortable with, because we've all made mistakes, you find one that you're comfortable with that you can say, yeah, this happened, but I learned from it and that never happened again. And it really changed the way I worked moving forward. Those are the keys that you have to make sure on those behavioral based questions, on those ones that are the areas of learning or areas of opportunity or times things don't go well. What we're looking for is, what did you learn and did you do it again? Great.
Just another quick reminder for all student attendees to please fill out the registration form that's in the chat. It's really important that we know who you are and what UW campus you're from. It helps us get an accurate count of participants in today's program. Another question, Tony, is do you have any idea regarding the pay structure when moving to Pleasant Prairie?
Well, we did have things in mind. We truly did. And then with COVID, what we've seen in the manufacturing sector is a big jump in salaries, right? Manufacturing was essential, and manufacturing grew in the United States during COVID. People started ordering more stuff, right? Amazon grew, but the manufacturers behind Amazon were growing as well, trying to keep up with this demand. So we've seen a big spike in the area. So we're doing a study right now. We do want to be one of the top payers in the area. So we have to do a study and see where we are.
Next question is this interview process the same for both internships and the full-time jobs, the process that you talked about?
Good question. No, the intern process is much smaller. So it starts with that HR screening interview and then goes right to the panel, and the hiring manager is on that panel. So it's typically a two-step process, unless there are times when the students make it very difficult for us, where we have 3 great candidates but only 1 job. That's when we may have that third interview to try to get another perspective and see if we can figure out which person we'll bring on. But typically with the interns, it's a 2-step process. So great question. Thanks for letting me clarify that.
Any other questions? How are we doing on time, Haley?
Doing good.
Okay. Any other questions for Tony about Haribo, about career preparation? I think, it's a lot of great advice from your perspective of the different careers that you've had. Maybe you can talk a little bit, Tony, about the difference between working for a family-owned business versus just a larger corporate type business. From your experience, what are the two main differences, and how students can assess and evaluate, their best fit?
So for me, always being in that, kind of consumer product, big brand company, what I found was there's a lot of, I'm going to be honest, red tape. Right? And there's good reasons for it. Believe me, I have put red tape in my career because there was a gap or something that happened and we needed to fix that and make sure that that didn't happen. So you create a form and you make things a little bit more cumbersome. And especially the bigger you get, the more consistent you need to be to make sure that you're being legally compliant. You can't have different processes in one plant and treat people differently in another. You have to make sure that you have these great, consistent programs. So the bigger you get, the more structure comes in place. I used to say facetiously at Nestle, if we can make it difficult, we will. That was kind of our thing because we were so big. We had to always document and, we had to make sure we were consistent. And it wasn't because it was a bad company. No, it was doing the right thing because they were so big. At a smaller family-owned company, we tend to look at the individual circumstances of what's going on and work to see how we can help it and work in that particular moment. So I find that being in a more of a family-owned company, we're more nimble, less layers to get approved. So in my old life, to fill a job, sometimes it took 12 approvals, especially if it had to go up to the CEO. And at Haribo, I need 3 signatures. Now it's smaller, but even in Germany, they don't have a lot of those layers like you do in such a big company. The one thing that I found was the biggest difference was in financials. So at a privately owned company, you don't really get to open up the Uline's checkbook, right? And say, how much did they make, right? That's their private checkbook. And that's what happens in a family company. It's really their funds, right? They're funding the business and the business is giving back, the profits there. But in a company like Nestle, it's a published report, right? So a published report, everybody knows the financials all over. I would also tell you at Nestle, shareholders were difficult at times. They demanded more return than they thought they were getting, which really squeezed the rest of the operation to deliver them more profits. Right? We see that in a smaller family-owned company. The other thing I think is the big difference for me is return on investment, ROI. At a big company like Ocean Spray and Nestle, they're big in ROI, which means that we need a payback in 3 years. And we're not going to invest if we don't get a payback in 3 years. Haribo looks at it for the long term. They're not looking for a 3-year ROI because we're not going to get a 3-year ROI with that big plant that's millions and millions of dollars. But they know that long term, that there's a growing market here and they need to make sure they have a manufacturing presence to supply that demand. So it's different in how things get approved to get to that type of thing than you would in a bigger company that's pretty driven on ROI because the shareholders and stockholders are looking at your financials.
Right. That's such valuable information. I think it's something we don't often talk about when, going from college to career, how to assess and evaluate the option differences between public and private organizations. So that's very helpful. Thank you, Tony. There was one more quick question about internships. Wondering if when doing an internship, are interns offered a full-time position, or is it only after they've done the second internship that you would consider hiring them full-time?
We've seen it both ways. A lot of it are depending on our openings, right? You may have a great intern and they've done great, but you don't have any openings at that time. Keep in mind, while you don't have any openings at that time, I know that intern now. So if they see something in the future, they call me up and say, hey, I see you got this opening now. I'm going to apply. I hope that I can use you as a reference. So having that is always a good thing, even if there's not an opening right away. But yes, we have offered some of our internships full time. Yes, we have offered some people a second internship. Again, it just depends on if there's going to be an internship in that function again. So we don't, finance is the one that's probably the most consistent, that tends to have an internship each time, but others it's just every now and then. So we have a quality internship this fall. We didn't have one last year. Last year we had a comms internship. They didn't have the need this year. So each year we take a look at what we're going to need, and then we create our internships, job descriptions around those particular functions.
Okay, last question. How long does it take to hear from a recruiter after applying on LinkedIn?
That's difficult to answer because it's different everywhere you go. So what I would tell you is it also depends on how many applicants we've gotten. At one point we had 1,000 applications, right? And so can you look through 1,000? No, you normally look through the people that hired on the first 2 days. And if you get a good slate from there, you kind of pause it, get through that group of people. If you need to go back, you start there. So some companies, they don't get back to people on at all. They just don't. They don't have the bandwidth to do it. And it's not something they value doing. So don't make that think that, that's a bad company. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means that the sheer volume of going through all and answering all, especially companies that are maybe smaller, may not have that applicant tracking system yet. For us, we try to make sure that we're returning, we get back to everybody in 2 to 3 weeks. That's our goal.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tony. I know that you are very busy. I appreciate your time talking with us today, sharing information about Haribo, offering some wonderful career advice for all students in the UW system. Also want to thank our UW System Career Track Committee and all of our partner campuses for collaborating and providing this opportunity to meet employers throughout the state of Wisconsin. And just remind everyone that these are recorded, and these are wonderful conversations and presentations by Wisconsin area employers. You can come back and watch them again. You can show them in a class. If you're a student and you're involved in a club or an organization, that's another great place to show some of these videos, to really kind of provide some professional development and career development for your colleagues and classmates for clubs and organizations. So just want to thank you again. And it's great to have you, Tony, in the backyard and a proud Parkside alumni. So we look forward to seeing you on campus soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.